Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Back at you, Gloves Off. I'm Paul Buitrón. I'm here with Sarah Johnston. We're talking about the bills that went into the House and what happened after the Senate and what's going on with them. They're all dealing with parental alienation, interference with child custody, and they're all bills that would make it a lot easier for parents or loving parents to see their children. How are we doing today, Sarah? You doing good?
I am doing excellent. Thanks. How are you?
Doing great. You guys look good, especially after all the work that you all did over at the House and in Austin. And nice to see you all back and forth. You all did wonderful. And congratulations on your son when he spoke. That was magnificent.
Thank you. It was a real team effort this year. All of the different groups, the major groups here in Texas, we all decided we were going to try to make a little bit more of a forward movement together. We're still individuals and we each serve our own purpose and we each have our own style. But when it came to working at the Capitol, we wanted to make sure that we were working together and that we were sending across the same message.
Absolutely. And it was wonderful. I saw a lot of great families, a lot of great parents, a lot of people that I wouldn't say they were at odds with each other because they're not at odds, but there were a lot of people that were somehow divided but came down for a common goal. And I think from all over Texas, and it was a great effort and everything else. But apparently, there's certain things that happen, right? The Senate, it's over already. And what bills got passed, what bills were not passed, and you can enlighten us.
Well, HB 803, our equal shared parenting bill, which would only have moved two fit and willing parents, loving parents, when you were made both joint managerial conservator, it would have started the conversation at 50-50 so that we could have removed some of the conflict, some of the aggression between the parents, the winner-loser mentality. That bill got killed in the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee. They never took a vote. Even though we got a hearing, they never actually took a vote. So we don't really know who would have supported it and who would not have. We have our obvious nays. So unfortunately, we didn't get that one any further, but at least we did get another hearing. We got a lot of things on record. We got a lot of data. We got a lot of stats. We really got to show, based off of the number of people who showed up at that hearing, how many voters in the state of Texas really support equal shared parenting. We have our policy poll that we did last session. We have the number of calls, the number of emails that went to legislators this session. We have 22 authors that had signed on. And then we had almost 150 people testify just at that hearing alone. And that did not include all of the people who had sent in Zoom requests under COVID restrictions and were denied the ability to testify via Zoom. So really, we had an amazing showing and we were able to, I feel, show the legislators that this is a topic that's not going to go away. This is a voter wanted bill. This is a voter supported bill. So I really think we kind of shook up things a little bit this session and really made a name for ourselves.
When you see when committees play that way, play those political games, so we're not going to hear you and so on. So that's what it is. That's what it boils down to. It's a political game. And it's sad because they're supposed to be representing all. It's not, I'm going to represent only mothers, or I'm going to represent only fathers, or I'm going to represent only voting age individuals. We have to protect our children, number one. And that's not what they're doing. You see, a lot of people And you can also see there, especially when you start understanding that there's a lot of lawyers involved in there. Lawyers don't want these bills to be passed. You start seeing that rhetoric that is going on in the courtrooms, that this will actually damage them, not damage the child. It's going to damage the lawyer, because the lawyer is no longer going to be battling it out, getting paid. And it's sad because we're damaging our children. That means that you really don't care about any kids, So it's just a sad case. It's a sad case that this is going on. Hopefully, the voters see that, and hopefully we have enough voters that can see and maybe sway those committees going in there. It's going to be funny, I think. If you want to look at it in the political stream, I think people are awake more in tune that they need to vote now more than ever. So hopefully I'm not wrong and people do go out and vote correctly.
Well, that's something that really everyone in the shared parenting community needs to think about. So these committee members, not only when they're on a committee should they be representing the constituents that voted them in, but once you're on a committee, you're really representing all of Texas. So if your legislator didn't represent you and your children in the manner in which you felt they should, then that's where each and every person in this community needs to use their voice and their vote. They need to all start getting active. Are you active in a political party in your community? Our community is made up of both parties. So we have Republicans, we have Democrats, but regardless of which one of those parties you belong to, or if you're a libertarian, you need to be joining and getting involved at your local level. Join the local chapters, start talking about it, start making sure people understand that this bill and bills like it are necessary, how they are impactful or going to be impactful to children. The more that we make sure everybody knows what's going on, the better off we are, the better off our children are.
Absolutely. We need to educate folks out there. There's a lot of, how many people are divorced in any county? Okay. So we have to start looking at that. How many people are actually affected by parental alienation? Because it stems out with a lot of different things, 50-50 or whatnot. It stems out, there's a lot of kids out there that are, to me, I think parental alienation, in my opinion, is just a form of child abuse. And so until folks understand that and folks start seeing that, then folks are going to start paying attention to that. I think this is going to creep up something like MAD. Remember when MAD first started? Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. The DAs really didn't care about it. So-and-so got drunk and who cares? Let's wash it down the table. Until they removed a couple of DAs in certain cities, and then everybody raised their head and said, wait a minute, this group is alive and kicking. To me, I think eventually that's what needs to happen with all the groups. Have to come together in some form of 501c4 and kind of go forward and do that like a pack and go after individuals that really do not care, because there's a lot of abuse. And it's not only in legislation, it's all over the place. It's in judges and family court magistrates. It's all over the place. And it's so sad. But I think that it needs to happen. Well, anyway, it's enough of the rant. But is there any bill that stuck or any bill that went forward?
So 1936 did make it all the way through. Okay. Now I don't believe that it's actually been signed into law yet, so it's still got to go through to the governor's desk. But 1936 was something that started by Senator Hughes, and then on the House side was authored by Representative Cook and Representative Swanson. So what it does is when you're within 50 miles of each other, instead of walking into court and getting standard possession as the rebuttable presumption, it turns expanded standard into an opt-out program. So you would actually have to opt out of having the expanded within 50 miles to get standard, rather than having to fight against the rebuttable presumption that standard was in the best interest of the child in order to gain expanded. This is a fabulous foot forward for the children of Texas. It almost doubles the amount of time that they were getting, depending on who you talk to. So with the standard, they get about 25%. If you look at all of our group numbers under expanded, they only get about 39% of the time with their non-custodial parent. If you look at the numbers provided by the Texas Family Law Foundation, they get 53 and 54%. We all know that's fuzzy math, and anyone with any sort of brain power understands a non-custodial parent is not going to have more than 50% of the time. Now, Representative Cook did present what I still consider fuzzy math in the hearing for 803, which was having it in the 40s, 42 to 47. I believe that was Representative Cook. So, I mean, it's somewhere in the upper 30s, lower 40s on the percent, still not where we want it, but it is a great leap forward for the children of Texas. If they are within 50 miles, the non-custodial parent and the custodial parent, at least that moves them from that father absent at risk pool and puts them in a little bit of a healthier situation. So we did make an impact there, because at the beginning of session, no one was admitting that we had a problem. No one was admitting that our standard possession order was a problem or that it was endangering children. So at least through the power of all of our flyers and all of our conversations with them and with data, we were able to at least get some buy-in from the legislators that we had a problem. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, and it changes dramatically. Now, what's going to happen once the governor signs it, becomes law? Are those that have standard, can they go back in there and get extended? Hopefully.
It is not on its own a reason to go back to court. So you still have to meet all the standards to go back. One of those is, something major has happened, but that's a very easy thing typically to prove. It could be a move, it could be a change in job, it's any sort of change in circumstances. So a lot of people should be able to find something that has gone on in their life to demonstrate that in order to update their cases. But on its own, just because the bill came through, it's not reason to file for a modification.
Okay, well, that's good. And so I guess that's the only one. What's going to happen with the other ones, the other bills? Is there any chance whatsoever that we're hearing a lot of rhetoric with the governor saying that they're going to do an extension? Do you think the governor might be pleased to place one of these back into that extension?
Well, I'm not real sure if there's going to be a special session. I mean, I think that would be great. And one thing that I think that we all need to try to accomplish is, for example, there's 4240 out there, which was Representative Raymond's bill, and it was so close to the finish line. That is the bill that would allow cities and counties to create a fine for interference with child custody. So if you didn't follow the order, you could be subject to a fine. It would increase the income for the cities and the counties. It would also provide an immediate slap on the hand for anyone who's not following their order, which typically, for the most part, a lot of the people who begin denying people their parenting time, if they would have gotten an automatic, in trouble, it would have stopped. Now, it's not going to stop the extreme alienators, no, but it's something that we really need. So it's been my understanding this week that we need to start contacting Governor Abbott's office, and we need to start asking that he puts 4240 into the special session so we can get it the rest of the way through. Now, I haven't been able to verify that with Representative Raymond, but I believe you had spoken to him, and that was information that you had got from him as well, right?
Absolutely. And I think we need to start touching base with the governor and start moving forward with that. And that's a bill that I know very well. how we wrote it. And things happen. It actually started with an incident that I had with an officer that kind of grabbing his gun, and I called his superiors. Well, nonetheless, things like that occur, and we don't want those accidents to happen. So, I support the blue, but they have to start doing their job.
I think, unfortunately, what at least my understanding of what with the people who have really been trying to work with them, a lot of it is just simply the fact that it's one of those easy things to get miscommunicated, and they're not getting proper training on. Now some of them do know, and even when you give them proper information, but it just seems like in a lot of the conversations, it's one of those things where the law says one thing, but their standard operating procedure is just kind of shove it over into somebody else's realm so they can go about doing what they're supposed to do. And if that's the directive, there's not really much that the individual officers can do when they get to a scene, because if they don't follow the directive that's given to them, they're going to get in trouble. And this isn't an incident in which that defying your orders might seem as critical as maybe some other ones. And so I can understand that. We're all human.
Well, it depends. I look at it like this. I've talked to many law enforcement officers from all the different, from the county to the city to federal, and they all kind of say, the problem with today's society since the last 30 years, it's that fathers aren't around kids anymore, and kids are doing whatever they want. And so that's the thing. And I tell them, you guys are the ones that are not helping them see their kids.
Right. I know that in several meetings.
So, if you guys would help that, maybe we can help some of those kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, we tried to point out to the higher ups that you're creating repeat offenders. So when you do these interference calls, if you would just handle them per the law, you would stop the next time you meet this kid, because you're increasing the likelihood that you're going to be taking him in for some other offense later.
Absolutely.
So there's also the other 2503 Penal Code 2503 related bill. It's my understanding that one also has died, and it didn't get all the way through the process. That one was also super important. That was from Senator Menendez. That one strengthened 2503. It clarified things. It cleaned up some of the language to make it the process that the police officer should be following, to clarify, to make it a little less, we're gonna move this over here. Now that one also was critical for us, and the Representative Raymond and Senator Menendez's bills kind of went hand in hand on helping us really strengthen that 2503 momentum. Now, I haven't got to talk to anyone who's spoken to Senator Menendez, but if we're going to be calling about one, we might want to go ahead and call about the other, because Senator Menendez's bill just didn't make it the rest of the way through either. So we just needed to kind of get that final little push.
We need to. We really need to sit down and really start talking. I think we need our city councilmen. I think we need our sheriffs that are involved and that support some of these bills to go ahead and also in their letterhead send a letter to the governor saying, you know what, we need help. We need help.
Right. I think that'd be a great thing if you could get the sheriffs and the higher ups in the police department. I mean, these are situations that if you clean it up now, you're not going to see those kids, or you lower the likelihood by a lot that you're going to see them again.
You are absolutely correct. And I want to thank you for saying that, because I sound like a broken record and people here just kind of look at me, but I'm glad that you said it. Okay. And if they allow the fathers, maybe the fathers can straighten them up if the mom can't, kind of thing. Sometimes it happens, and sometimes it happens, but and I know a lot of police officers personally that are going through the same thing, and they just kind of they don't know what to do. And I go, well, follow the law, and it starts with the blame game. The DA doesn't want us to do this. Oh, the chief doesn't want us to do this. This one to do this. But what does the law state? I mean, I understand that they have the right to say the mom is concerned that the father's going to do this. I understand those cases. It happens. But when it's happening all the time, it's a different story.
And then we also need to start, so we can't just ignore the opposite of that statement. So if we're going to go off of the old idea that if mom is concerned about something, we need to start looking about what if dad's concerned about something. We've seen news after news after news article in the last year, and so many young children are being taken away from this earth, not by their fathers, but by their mothers. We have a pandemic of that. It's an epidemic going on right now. And that's because, in my opinion, we've encouraged that. We've told women, we've given them these horror stories. If you go read and you go look at any of the mom support groups, the majority of them are selling this snake oil that all men are dangerous, that all men are they're going to harm their own children. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. But what they aren't talking about are the statistics. They use old studies that have been ripped apart, have been proven that you can't duplicate the findings. They use a new study that was not even a scientific study, from my understanding. It was a legal study. So it was reviewed by legal peers. But when you're trying to sell something as a scientific study, you really need to follow the rules of a scientific study. Now, Dr. Harmon, she does an excellent job of explaining why that study is invalid. So I'm not even going to try it because it's out of my realm. But there's so much evidence out there to support that custodial mothers and their significant others actually pose a much higher risk to children than their non-custodial father and their non-custodial stepmother. Now, that's not to say that every mother is going to go out there and do some harm to her child. But if we're going to talk about one parent being able to stop something because they have a concern, then we need to make sure we understand that both parents get to do that. And a father is just as much likely to have a concern, if not more likely to have a concern, of what is happening in his child's mother's home because of the mother or because of her significant other than they do about what's going on in his home.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And it's a shame that's going on. Let's just think of something positive, and hopefully we can get to the governor's ears, and hopefully we can place these if we do have a extended session or another executive session coming up soon, a special session, which I do think so, because I think the census wasn't completed, so they're going to have to do it anyway.
Well, Representative Niave's Title IV-D compliance bills didn't make it all the way through, so I'm sure that even some Democrats are going to be pushing for Governor Abbott to have a special session, because without those bills making it all the way through, the state of Texas is not compliant with Title IV-D, which means we will not be eligible for the funds that we collect for the collection of child support through the Title IV-D process. So that's going to cost the state of Texas millions of dollars. So I really hope that they have one, and I really hope that those bills suddenly get pushed through, because it only solidifies our community's stance that Title IV-D is much more important to those in power than the health and welfare of our children. Another bill, the last one that I want to talk about is, and I don't remember the number, but we had a bill that was going to add parental alienation to the definitions of child abuse. For anyone who has done any work with parental alienation, especially for those who are alienated, targeted parents, this bill was something that we really, really needed. Parental alienation is, by any sane person's definition, child abuse. You are mentally and emotionally abusing a child. You are targeting and specifically destroying a very fundamental relationship, which helps develop that child and helps them grow. When you do that without just cause, of course, being something like actual abuse, something of that nature, then you're harming that kid for your own selfish needs. And so adding that definition to the listed definitions of what is considered child abuse was something that was desperately needed, especially with the so there's this whole movement out there. They refer to themselves as protective mothers, and they're fighting in legislation, trying to get legislation updated to make it easier for them to alienate parents, to have parental alienation. They call it junk science. They make all of these cases, and they have one study. Again, that was the one that we talked about just a few minutes ago. It was a legal study, not a scientific study, that they try to use to back this up. And unfortunately, they're making some headway in some states. So we really need for the state of Texas to recognize parental alienation as child abuse, so that we are not finding ourselves in a battle where the laws have been updated to not only allow parental alienation, but to encourage it further.
You see, and when we talk about parental alienation, I mean, grandmothers have been affected, grandfathers have been affected, cousins, brothers, go down the line. And if everybody could wake up, the voter base is extreme. Okay. And
Right.
that voter base can get you start voting people in or start voting people out. I think that's the wave that's going in now. People are starting to look at, you know what? Some of these politicians aren't up here for us, so we better change them. And I think that's
Right.
what's going to happen.
Right. And
I think
there's
that's
many
exactly
people
what-
in our community that I think would cross party lines for that. You know, if there was, I'm not going to say what party I belong to, but let's say there was a candidate on the other one. If they came out with equal shared parenting on their platform, if they were
I would
pushing,
vote
yeah, if they were pushing to get changes to parental alienation and 2503, I would be over at their campaign rally. The person from my party better start talking the same talk if they want to keep my attention, because I will be over here listening to the person who's talking about the topics that I feel we need to really be tackling. You know, there's so many of them I understand, but it's going to be iffy if people start picking up this campaigning slogan, and if they start picking up this movement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for all those that are listening out there, especially that are running against for governor, for anything, understand that these groups that are out here have a lot of people behind them, have a lot of votes behind them. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of strengths in numbers. And you all know the voter play. You guys better start playing the tune of what people need and what the community want, because you might make it, you might not.
Well, and don't just give us lip service. If you go out there and you say, this is going to be on my platform, make sure you're willing to deliver, because I think that we've showed again this session that although we had a very positive movement throughout the beginning of the session, we were super professional, we were very nice, that when people went against their word, we as a collective group had no issues calling them out, and we had no problems in pointing out incorrect behaviors by legislators. You know, I mean, we've got legislators calling cops on people for absolutely no reason. We've got legislators accusing people of manipulating data or outright lying. We have legislators, there's There's one particular legislator that I can think of off the top of my head who actually just refuses to discuss with me and meet with me. Has actually said on Facebook that they don't want to get an argument with me. But over the exact same topic, one of the men of the movement, they answered him just, oh, no, nice and sweet. So, I feel that everybody needs to be reminded that we're all voters. We're all Texans. And, ignoring me in a shared parenting discussion as one of the few females, it's not gonna look good at all. So, attacking people. I know that there were some individual personal attacks made by people against members of our community this session. And that's really going to be a no-go next session. So I think we made it very difficult to do that this session. And next session, we're just going to be a better united front. We're going to get stronger at our game, and we're going to learn to play the political politics a little bit stronger than we did this year. But every year we learn and grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for standing up, Sarah. I want to thank you for always voicing your opinion and for the protection of the children of Texas. And also, it takes guts to go up there and say, you know what, you guys are doing it wrong. Let's get this thing straight. Let's come down to a middle road and let's get this going. And especially for our children. And for all the others that are out there fighting this battle, be calm. And fathers, mothers, this weekend is the first weekend of June. You all can see your child. And if you do have to call the police officers, just be calm. Just be calm. Don't give them any reason for them to do anything towards you. Just stay calm. And once more, thank you, and thank the rest of the group for going up there to Austin. You all mean a lot to us. You are the guardians of our children right now at this point.
Well, I would like to say, get involved, guys. In your political, look at who's running for sheriff. Is there one of your candidates that's willing to push 2503? Then maybe you need to look at backing them. Join the groups. We are the leaders of the main groups. We're trying to figure out some sort of in-between session game plan and different things that we can start doing to start moving forward and gearing up for next year. These are not big, huge public meetings. I know a lot of people wanted them to be, but we would never accomplish anything. So we're trying to keep it small, and then we're going to kind of divide and conquer. Again, each of our groups has a different voice, a different way we can approach things. That doesn't make one group better than the other, but there's a reason why we all have different groups, and we're going to maintain that, but we're going to be a solid team behind the scenes. So not just the Fathers' Rights Movement, not just TFRM, but there's Americans for Parental Equality, Americans for Equal Shared Parenting, the Equal Justice Task Force, Dad's Equal Custody, Team 2503. There's all of these amazing groups, and hopefully I didn't forget anybody because I always seem to. Go follow one of them. Make sure you're in the know. And when we start putting out calls for action, guys, we still need you to get out there and do whatever it is the call for action is. So if we say we need emails, we still need people sending emails. If we say we need phone calls, we're going to need you to do phone calls. If we need to do a block walk, we had enough people this year. I really feel like we can actually start doing those kinds of things. If we can get enough people together, but we can't have 5 people throughout all of the state of Texas. 5 of us cannot travel the entire state. So if we get enough people in each area, then we can do block walks. We can really get out there and really talk about those who support shared parenting and those who didn't. We can talk to people. We can make sure they understand the message. It wasn't just that we killed a bill. We legislators are active in further child abuse in the next 2 years because they did nothing. And that is what
Absolutely.
we as the community need to make sure other people understand. Their inaction enabled child abuse. There's
Absolutely.
no getting around that.
And believe me, and their inactions enabled the seed of parental alienation to grow. And a lot of fathers and a lot of parents that go out there and they're so depressed that they take their own lives. That's on their hands. That's just the way it is. And unfortunately, like again, folks, this goes out to you guys. If you need some help, give us a call. We'll find some help. I'm going to give my number straight out. It's 956-401-4868. My email is buitronacademy@2012@gmail.com. If you're in the needed area and you need some help, drop me a line, give me a call. We'll get you some help. But here in Webb County, we've been doing that, especially with Pillar of Laredo, sending folks out there to get some counseling. This is some rough stuff, and especially coming in from COVID last year, a lot of parents did not see their kids, and this is going to continue another year. Let's just get this stuff up and running. If you guys need help, we're here.
TFRM has a national crisis line. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it can be found on our Facebook page. It's the main cover photo. So if you are in crisis, please, and you can't get a hold of anybody else, or you don't want to talk to somebody else, please give them a call. Those guys, the phones are always manned. Now that is crisis. That's not legal assistance. That's not any of that kind of stuff. That's really, I am in dire straits kind of a situation. So just to throw that out there.
Absolutely. Sarah, huge hug. You guys keep on moving forward. We will see you guys soon. We've got plenty to do, and the fight's not over yet.
Have a good night.
Absolutely. Peace.
Today, in America, more than 5.5 million men, women, and children train in a martial art regularly. Buitrón Academy has been serving Laredo for over 30 years now. Our adult classes are geared for producing the best in you, teaching you street-ready techniques. With the arts of Savate and Kinpo, you'll learn the traditions of these sciences of combat, as passed down professor to student.
Bonjour, friends of Professeur Buitrón. The COVID-19 scare is almost over. Be sure to bring the kids back to the professor's training and help them build their bodies, self-respect, self-confidence, and self-defense. The professor is a very competent and amazing man of several talents, aside from being a lovable teddy bear and a funny man. Get back to the studios. This is Sam Booth calling from Phoenix, Arizona. Have a great training. Bye for now.
Hello, my name is Manuel Lozano. I've been training in the martial arts for close to 50 years. I trained in many martial arts from different masters and grandmasters throughout the years, from the 70s all the way to now. I've known Professeur Buitrón for about 30 years. He has done the same, trained in many different arts with many masters. He's traveled all over France, studying with surviving Savate grandmasters, did his research. This man not just knows the fighting techniques and the art, but the philosophy, the history and the strategy, and applying this arts combined with all the other arts. So this man is a wealth of knowledge for anyone seeking instruction in real martial arts and street martial arts. This is the school to go to in Laredo, Texas. For those of you who are away from Laredo, this is the guy to look for. Okay, he's very well versed in all the fighting styles of the different arts he has trained in, and I would highly recommend the school.
Hi, this is Mike Blackery of San Antonio, Texas, home of CMOC and the Wing Chun Boxing Academy. I'm here to tell you about my good friend Paul Buitrón. He is reopening his school in Laredo, Texas. Paul is a wealth of knowledge. I've known him a long time. I highly suggest everybody in that area get with it. Go down there and train. Times are getting tough here. And with this COVID-19, we need to support local business. So I highly suggest go see Paul Buitrón at the Don Zerou Sabat Academy in Laredo, Texas. You will not regret it. Be good.
Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo. Give us a call for your free evaluation at 956-401-4868 or check out our website at savat.biz. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook.